Hey everybody, my name is Phil Kollar with Polygon.com. I'm here with Dark Souls 2, the brand new game from Software, creators of the first Dark Souls as well as Demon Souls. Game's known for being notoriously difficult. That has not changed. Some stuff has changed between this and the first Dark Souls. I'm here to give you a couple of quick tips on things you can do, both if you're a newcomer and also if you're somebody who's returning to the game, in order to prepare yourself for your journey through Dark Souls 2. So let's get started. When you first start the game, you're going to spawn in this area called Things Betwixt. This area is pretty simple, not a whole lot of enemies around, not much going on. You can kind of run through. I would take some time and explore, though. There are a few items that you can get and some stuff that's going to help you start your journey. Whenever you're done exploring Things Betwixt, you can head towards this giant tree here. Basically, when you enter this door, you're going to get a cutscene that is going to introduce you to the world of Dark Souls 2, introduce you to some of the stuff that's going on, and allow you to start setting up your character past this generic build that you start with. Alright, for the purposes of this video, we are going to name my character Chris. Plant. Perfect. Alright, when you get to the character creation screen, you're going to see a lot of different things. The important stuff, obviously you can make your character look however you want. The important stuff we want to deal with, though, is class and gift, because this is going to very much change how you play the game, at the very least at the beginning. So you can see there are a lot of different classes here to choose from, and you're going to see stats in the lower right corner of the screen that are changing depending on which class you choose. If you press the select button, that's going to show you what these stats are and what they mean, and that's going to help you decide which class you would like to try out. Personally, I am a big fan of the melee in the game. I think melee combat is the way to go. So I am going to be going with the warrior class. As far as gifts go, there are a lot of different things to choose. A lot of these gifts, such as Human FG, Healing Wares, Homeward Bone, a lot of these are single-use items, which isn't probably your best choice unless there's something very specific you want to get out of the game. I am going to recommend, for newcomers especially, pick the life ring. This is going to increase your HP. It's going to make the beginning of the game much easier because you're going to be able to take more damage. Other stuff like the Bonfire Ascetic, Seed of a Tree Giant, this is the kind of stuff that if you're a hardcore player coming into the game, Seed of a Tree Giant is like a PvP item. Bonfire Ascetic lets you make the game harder. That's stuff that you might want to get in like your second or your third playthrough, or if you're somebody who really considers themselves a Souls expert. I'm going with Life Ring. Now, as soon as you leave this little hut where you made your character, you're going to see the first bonfire. If you've played Dark Souls 1, you know that bonfires are important. If you didn't, basically what you need to know is that these are your checkpoints. When you die, you're going to return to the last bonfire that you rested at. When you rest at a bonfire, it's going to heal you back up to full health, or close to full health. And it's also going to respawn all of the enemies in the area, so it's essentially like a big reset button. Let's take a rest. Alright, walking past the bonfire, you're going to come to this cool-looking area. So this is essentially a tutorial. The nice thing is, if you're a Dark Souls expert and you want to just leave, you can. You don't need to do the tutorial. You can just walk in a straight line and exit through this area. However, if you're a newcomer, and I would say even if you are a returning Dark Souls player, I think it's very much worth doing these tutorial sections. Not only are you going to get a good handle on the basics of how the game works, but you are going to get some nice beginner items to get you started on your journey. There is one part in the tutorial section that you're going to want to watch out for and maybe not mess around with, and that is that creepy looking guy over there. There were a couple of these Cyclops troll giant things hanging out. They're kind of off to the side. You have to leave the regular path to get to them. You don't want to mess with these guys when you first start the game. That's something where if you want to come back here later and pick a fight with them, it's totally fine. But when you start the game, you don't want to mess with them. You're going to see this one is guarding something over there. Looks like there's something in the water there. That's a coffin. And what's interesting is, later in the game, if you come back and you kill these guys, you can get in that coffin, and it will change your gender. So if you decide, you started the game as a guy, as I did, and you decide you'd rather be a girl, all you have to do is conquer these crazy, powerful Cyclops, and then you can live out your dreams. That's gonna happen. You gotta get used to that happening. Now, one thing you might be noticing about the game as you move through this first tutorial dungeon is it's really dark, and a lot of places in Dark Souls 2 are darker in terms of light sources than the previous game. There's a solution for that. If you pick up a torch at any point, you can go over to the bonfire, and you see how X is rest at bonfire, and then there's a little note that says toggle with triangle. If you hit that toggle button, you're going to be able to light your torch. You see I have 5 minutes on this torch. The torch doesn't appear in your inventory anywhere, but every time you get a torch, every time you pick one up, it just adds more time total. And there are often, in a lot of the dark areas, even little lights that you can set to mark your path as you go. And these will stay up forever, and they'll also allow you to light your torch from them. One thing that Dark Souls 2 has that it's not particularly great at, but that you kind of need to get used to, is jumping. There are going to be platforming puzzles. They're usually not too difficult, and the game has really awkward jumping controls, so you can actually go into the options menu here and configure. You can make jump the circle button or the L3 button. I have it set to circle button. The weird thing is circle is you hold down circle to run. So you have to hold down circle to run and then tap circle again to jump, like that. Listen, it's not the best, it's not the most comfortable, but it is wise to get used to it early because you're going to be using it a lot as the game progresses. Now, whether you're using magic or melee, one thing you need to get used to in Dark Souls 2 compared to a lot of other third-person action games is blocking. You generally need to be blocking a lot. So you see I have a red meter up top in the upper left corner. That's my health. And then a green meter, which is your stamina. Every time an enemy hits me while I'm blocking, it's going to lower my stamina a little. That makes stamina a really important stat. So as you're leveling up, it can be really helpful to put quite a bit into stamina. I know by the end of the game, endurance, I believe, is the stat that increases your stamina. I'm pretty sure that was my highest or second highest stat. And it just ensured that I could take a lot of hits with my shield and not worry about my stamina running out. And I could also swing a lot because that also takes up stamina. If you're a fan of the first Dark Souls and you're watching me right now, you might be wondering, where is my Estus Flask? You see on the bottom of the screen, I do not have an Estus Flask. So Estus Flasks are in the game. They will make a return, and those are going to be your primary method of healing. It'll work the same as last game, where every time you rest at a bonfire, it refills your Estus. But in addition to that, they also have something called life gems, and a number of other single-use items that you can use to restore your health as well, just like this. Now, as soon as you leave the tutorial area, you're going to come to a spot called Majula. This is going to be actually your main hub for the game. You're going to be returning here a lot, and I will show you exactly why that is. Alright, here is Majula's bonfire. Let's get that thing lit. Alright, and then standing nearby is arguably the most important NPC in the entire game.
Are you the next monarch?
So this mysterious lady is actually how you level up. In Dark Souls, you leveled up anytime at a bonfire, at any bonfire. She also gave us her first Estus Flask, as I mentioned. In Dark Souls 2, as with Demon Souls, you have to come to this NPC anytime you want to level up. So let's talk through here. Need to get through all of this dialogue before she'll let us level up. Also, this is a good lesson. Make sure you go through all of the dialogue with every NPC, because sometimes they will give you stuff at the end, or open up new options that weren't there previously. So as you see, we can level up, we can upgrade our Estus Flask, which we'll get something called Estus Flask shards that'll give us more Estus Flasks. Let's do it. Let's level up. In addition to the leveling NPC, we're going to find a couple of other important NPCs hanging out in Majula. First off, in this abandoned little house over here, we have this guy who will be our first merchant in the game. In particular, he starts the game with some helpful upgrades in terms of armor. If you don't have a shield, I would highly recommend getting one as soon as possible from him. As you go through the game, his inventory is going to keep increasing quite a bit, so it's highly recommended that you return and check out what he has at different points in time. Alright, and watching out for this gigantic hole in the middle of town. Don't fall into that yet. You can go over to this door, and you're going to find an adorable talking cat.
Oh. Just about.
So this cat has two important purposes. So, first off, you can actually see which covenants you're a part of. Now these are the multiplayer-related, largely multiplayer-related things. They help determine who you're going to be doing PvP against, who you're going to be teaming up with, whether PvP or co-op is your main focus, that kind of stuff. So joining a covenant is important, ranking up in a covenant is important, and you can actually just go to this one NPC. So if the NPC you need to join or leave a covenant is in the middle of nowhere, you can always just return to this cat and manage your covenants from here. In addition to that, the cat sells a couple of great rings, and I think the really important one is the Silver Cat Ring, which reduces damage from falling. This costs a lot of souls, 13,400 souls. You're probably not going to be able to get it for a while. But eventually, you're going to want to get that ring, and that will allow you to start making your way down here, which has its own set of terrifying areas associated with it. You're also going to be able to find this poor guy hanging out in Majula. This is your blacksmith. Unfortunately, his problem is he is locked outside of his workshop, so he can't help us right now. We'll get back to him later. There are a few different directions that you can go in from Majula, but my recommendation for first-time players, when you're ready to start journeying the world of Drangleic, here's the Bonfire in Majula. You head right down the coast here. This is going to take you to the Forest of Fallen Giants, which is, for your level, probably the best area to go right now. Now, as you're entering the Forest of the Fallen Giants, there is actually a bonfire. It's really easy to miss. I'm going to show you how to get to. Super helpful for ensuring that you don't have to walk all the way from Majula every time as you're trying to explore this slightly more challenging area. That bonfire is right across the river, right up here. Also an important thing to point out, one of the major changes between Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2, not only can you rest, get your HP back, etc. at bonfires, you can now fast travel to any bonfire that you've lit. So if you have gained enough souls to level up again, you can warp right back to Majula. One thing they might be noticing as I fight these guys, one of the tactics that's important for melee combat in Dark Souls is backstabbing. If you can get behind an enemy and get at the right angle, let me see if I can get it on this guy. You're going to do a backstab that does way, way more damage. See, a regular attack there would have done maybe a fifth of his health. That did almost all of it. So whenever you can pull off a backstab, it's very, very useful. It does take some practice getting used to the right angle to hit enemies from. So as you climb up this ladder that I'm looking at right here in the Forest of the Fallen Giants, you're going to have an ambush on your hands. Watch out for these guys, which I already took out. Watch out for the archer up here. But in particular, watch out for this guy. So this is a special NPC. He's going to show up at a couple different locations. He's not going to attack you unless you attack him. If you manage to beat him, he drops a really nice sword. It can be nice to get that early. He's also a lot more powerful than anything else in this area, so you might want to hold off, level up a little bit, play it safe, and then come back and attack him and get that sword when you have a little bit more power, or maybe you don't want to attack him at all. Maybe you just want to be a nice guy. You know, that's your decision. Nothing is ever as simple as it looks in Dark Souls. Nothing. Oh, sweet, glorious bonfire. Oh, that's so good. Alright, so the second bonfire that you're going to find in Forest of the Fallen Giants, which, you know, you're just following a straight path. It's not very hard to find. It's going to include this fellow, who you definitely want to make sure to talk to. This is going to be your main merchant for consumables, for items like those healing gems. And in particular, he has one item you should get right away, Leningrast's Key, which it says quite clearly opens Blacksmith Leningrad shop in Majula. Obviously, that's well worth the 1,000 souls. We want that blacksmith shop open as soon as possible. So definitely grab that and use the bonfire here to take it back to Lenigrast. So there's one thing you might have noticed if you have died a couple of times as you've been getting to this point, and that is characters getting kind of gross looking. The more times you die, the more undead you become. And not only does this affect your appearance, it also affects, you can see my the red health bar in the upper left corner. The maximum amount of HP has been lowered, and that's going to keep getting lowered every time you die to a certain point, which I think is about halfway. There's a ring you can find later on that will limit the amount that your HP can be lowered to about 75%, which is super helpful. I had that equipped for a long time in the game. There's one other way that you can help, and that is these items called human effigies. Now, these are limited, so I don't recommend using them constantly. You've got to be careful with when you decide to use these. But they are very useful. You're going to see you just crush it in your hand like that. Turns you back into a regular-looking human. Full health now, and in addition to that, it also allows you to summon phantoms to help you in boss fights. Sometimes these are NPC phantoms, sometimes they are player-controlled phantoms once the servers are all online. So that's going to be very useful, and it's good to do that before a boss fight, for example. But just definitely don't go wasting your human effigies because you don't want to run out. Alright, so as you are exploring the Forest of the Fallen Giants, or more precisely this castle in the Forest of the Fallen Giants, you're probably going to come across this. And something special is going to happen here. You see that giant bird over there? Seems kind of weird. Seems like it's... Oh, God. So, this is a really hard encounter, and I'm pretty sure... I mean, I think it can be beat. Usually these kinds of counters in Dark Souls can be beat. Don't get discouraged if you don't win. You are not meant to win this. As you can see, this guy is just outmatching me in every way. Yep, and I am dead. You'll get a rematch opportunity with this guy a little bit later in the game. Don't feel discouraged. You're meant to die there. And one important part of dying is always be sure to run back and pick up your souls afterwards. When you die, you drop all of the souls that you are carrying on the ground. Obviously, souls are used to level up as well as used as currency to buy things, so losing those is bad. If you die again without picking them up, they're gone for good. So definitely go pick them up if you absolutely can. So that little warning that you saw just flash across the screen there, that actually shows that the weapon I'm using is low on durability. Every time that you rest at a bonfire, the durability goes back up to full, so you don't have to worry about that. But if it breaks, you actually need to go back to a blacksmith to get it repaired. So sometimes it makes sense to pull out another weapon before that happens. Alright, eventually you're going to make your way around to the area I'm at now. You might recognize this as actually the opposite side of this door, which is where the bonfire is located, right up this ladder. So first thing first, open this door, go use the bonfire. I've already done that. And then we are going to step onto this elevator. This is going to take us down to the game's first boss, finally. Alright, and here we are. Believe it or not, this guy looks a lot harder than he actually is. He's super big, and oh man, he just took a lot of my health off with one hit. So as I say, he's not that hard. He's about to kill me. But he's really not that hard. You just want to stay low, watch out for his legs, don't let him slam you like I just did. Oh god. And you just want to swipe at his feet. You want to stay... Basically, you want to be able to roll in and out between his feet. That's going to get you, keep you away. What I was doing wrong that you should watch out for is probably only swing once or twice, because that leaves you time to roll away like that, so that he cannot just stomp on you. Because your shield is not going to protect you if he stomps on you. Trust me. Biggest thing with bosses in Dark Souls, they're always going to look scary, and you know, in some cases they are scary. But usually the secret is just figuring out their patterns, figuring out their tells. In this case, I've got him kind of locked into this pattern. He's not really going to do much. Ooh, he tried falling right on top of me there and missed. But once you figure out what they're doing, it's usually not too difficult to actually just avoid their attacks altogether. And now he has a weapon. Oh god. Oh boy. Oh boy. So that's gonna happen too. Sometimes you're gonna be just a couple of hits from killing the boss and you're gonna die. And then you have to do it all over again. So just get used to that. That's Dark Souls, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, I'm on camera. I'm doing a video that is supposed to show people how to be good at this game. Please, just let me just die this time, please. Please die this time. I did it. I did it. It only took a few tries from a self-proclaimed expert. But that's the whole point of Dark Souls. You're going to struggle with these bosses, but the victory's so sweet. And it's all about just those first few times when you go in and you die. You just got to chill, just be okay with it, and figure out what it is you need to be doing. What tells is the boss giving you to explain when you should act and when you shouldn't act. So you're going to notice two things that the boss drops for you in your inventory. First off, we have the Soldier Key. This is going to open a bunch of different doors inside the Forest of Giants, inside of this castle where we are. That's going to let you progress and get to new parts and get to another boss eventually. In addition to that, the boss dropped the Soul of the Last Giant. Excuse me. So you can see I have a couple of other souls in here. And you can use these items, and you gain a bunch of souls. And then, obviously, you can use those souls to level up, or use them to buy items, or use them however you want. Or just lose them if you're like me. The thing about boss souls, each boss has their own special soul. Eventually in the game, you're going to find somebody who can take these souls and turn them into special items, special pieces of armor, special weapons, spells that you can't get any other way. So it's probably worth holding on to them. However, if you're a fool like me, you can't always crush them. And they're going to give you a whole lot of souls. Oh, 6,000, that's nice. I'm going to go use that to level up. So if you keep going in the Forest of the Fallen Giants, eventually you're going to run into the Pursuer. That's that giant knight who fell and ruined my day earlier. You can keep going. You can go fight that knight right now. Chances are you're still probably going to be a little bit underleveled, even with all of the souls that you get for defeating the last giant. Instead of fighting the Pursuer right now, I recommend going back to Majula and taking this little path that I'm in right now. It can be easy to miss this, but this leads to a new area where you're going to do a lot better leveling up. And there's one important trick to getting to this area that is also easy to miss. So let's go down here into the sewers. And this is another important lesson when you're playing Dark Souls 2. You've got to be checking every nook and cranny, every corner, every wall. Oh, here's a treasure chest. I like that. Because you are bound to find things, and in particular levers, hidden walls, things that you may not have noticed. So a lot of people come down here, don't realize there's anything here, and take off. There's actually this little thing to pull on the wall. That's going to open up your way to the next area. Right through here. Alright, this is Haida's Tower of Flame. So you're going to see this big giant guy right here. These are the main enemies here. If they look a lot more intimidating, they definitely should. Oh my, taking some damage. The trick is going to be just trying not to get hit at all, letting them play out their attacks, and then taking your turn to attack, and then backing off. As long as you do that smartly, you shouldn't actually be in too much trouble. The trick, or the problem is when you get greedy, is when you try and go in for more swipes than you should, and you don't take your time. Like that might have been a little greedy. But I survived. Oh! Spoke too soon. There we go. So yeah, they're not that bad, and they are going to give you a nice amount of souls. It's going to make this a great place for leveling up as you're trying to get more powerful. And right here, right as you enter, behind that first guy you fight, another bonfire. Always helpful. But before we use that, I want to show you one other really cool secret up here. Not really a secret, I shouldn't say that. So the second guy that we're going to fight here has a big mace. And he has something special on him that we want. So let's see if we can kill him and get it. Oh! As you can see, even with a pretty tiny shield, I'm blocking. When I block, it's actually taking out most of the damage when I actually successfully block. Not too much longer now. We're gonna get in. Oh! Oh gosh. That's not good. I'll be back in a minute, folks. Alright, I think we got him now. Yeah. So, this guy drops a really important item. Sublime Bone Dust. I'm going to grab this other item over here, because I can't not grab items when I see them. Alright. So, you want to actually take that Sublime Bone Dust back to Majula. You want to do that as soon as possible. We're going to do it right now, in fact. And I'm going to show you the very cool thing that does. Alright, so there's actually two different ways to power up your Estus Flask. So I mentioned earlier, you can talk to the lady who levels you up, and you can give her Estus Flask shards. That's going to increase the number of flasks you have. As you see, I start out with just one, and you can keep finding Estus Flask shards and keep that going up quite a bit. The other cool thing you can do, so you go to Majula, rest in the Bonfire, and when the menu comes up, you're going to see this option to burn. So you can burn your human effigies. You can do this at any bonfire. I recommend saving those for when you want to be human, rather than burning them. It makes it harder for people to invade you for PvP, but I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth wasting your human effigies when you can use them to become human. More importantly, the Sublime Bone Dust that we just got, if you burn this in the Majula fire specifically, that's going to make your Estus Flasks more powerful. So it's not going to increase the number that you have, but it's going to increase the amount of healing that it does. So some forces strengthen the Estus Flask. Now we get out, and you can see it's now Estus Flask +1. Means when I drink it, it's going to heal more of my health. Alright, at this point, you should pretty much be set to just keep exploring and enjoying Dark Souls 2. Obviously, the major things that I've mentioned that you need to keep in mind are explore everything that you possibly can. Make sure you check out all of the environments. Make sure you talk to every NPC you come across. Keep talking to them until their dialogue loops, because you're going to find out things that you wouldn't have otherwise. And the one last tip that I will give you, because this is another one that a lot of people get stuck on. So on the path in between Majula and Estus Flame Tower, there's this strange-looking beam, and when you examine it, it says the contraption does not move. Has a little symbol on it. In Estus Flame Tower, the first boss that you fight, there's going to be a path up above that boss. The boss is named the Dragon Rider. And you're going to find a character there who sells miracles. It's going to be the first character in the game you encounter who sells miracles, which are kind of healing spells, stuff that you would use if you were playing more of like a cleric character. After you talk to that character, after you exhaust all of the dialogue options, the character will talk about moving on to a new place. This is where she shows up. And you're going to want to go here at some point in the game, whenever you feel like opening up a new path. Don't feel any rush to do it, because the path that you're opening up is actually pretty high level, pretty difficult. But you're going to want to come to this area, talk to the NPC who will be standing right here. If you pay her, I believe it's 2,000 or 3,000 souls, she will activate this device, this room will spin around, and you will get a brand new path leading to a brand new set of areas, bosses, everything. That's going to help you keep going in the game, keep finding what you need to do next. Beyond that, though, pretty much everything about the progression in this game is shockingly not as confusing as it was in the first Dark Souls. I didn't have a lot of trouble finding my way. Obviously, if you have friends who are playing, if you have people on forums or whatever, talking to them always helps. If you have any tips that you want to share, anything cool that you found that you think other people might be missing, why don't you just leave a comment below in the story that this video is posted in, or go check out Polygon.com's Dark Souls 2 community. I know we have a lot of people who are members of the community who are very big Dark Souls fans, very excited to get into this game, and I'm sure that they will be sharing all of their strategies and all of their secrets as they discover them. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy your time with Dark Souls 2. I hope you don't die as much as I did.